Why can such a simple, cheap, and easy-to-find root become one of the most powerful recipes in traditional cooking? Why did our grandmothers insist so much on preserving certain foods in vinegar, when today many people walk right past them without a second glance? And if a simple white radish could help your body feel lighter, cleaner, and fresher, wouldn't it be worth understanding how to prepare it correctly? Stay until the end, because this recipe holds not only flavor, but also memory, health, and a little kitchen secret that many families never let die. If you have radishes at home, especially those long, firm white radishes we often see at the supermarket, don't leave them forgotten in the fridge. There is a simple way to transform them into something crunchy, refreshing, and full of character: pickling them in vinegar. This preparation, which seems humble at first glance, has been a way to preserve food, intensify its flavor, and make better use of its properties for generations. Today I want to show you why the radish can be considered a little golden key to your daily well-being, and how to prepare it correctly following a simple, highly practical family recipe. We are not talking about a complicated recipe or rare ingredients. We are talking about white radishes, vinegar, salt, sugar, garlic, chili peppers, and a little patience. To start, the original recipe uses approximately 6 pounds of white radishes bought at the supermarket. This type of radish is known as daikon, a name of Japanese origin. In Japanese, dai means large and kon means root, and that name perfectly describes what we have before us: a large, white, elongated root that is very different from the small red radishes many people know. Daikon has a much milder and sweeter flavor. It doesn't hit the palate as hard as the common red radish. In addition, it contains a lot of water, making it incredibly refreshing when properly prepared. That juicy, clean, and light texture is precisely what makes it an ideal ingredient for pickling. But an important question arises here. If daikon is already good raw, why take the time to cut it, chill it, salt it, and put it in vinegar? The answer lies in the texture, the preservation, and that deep flavor that only appears when every step of the preparation is respected. From a nutritional standpoint, daikon is not just a white root to accompany dishes. In the original content, it is presented as a food with special value for the body, especially when it comes to internal cleansing, mucus, and feelings of heaviness. It shares the opinion of a doctor who explains something very specific. Radishes contain certain sulfur-rich properties, and that sulfur can help mobilize mucus accumulated in deep areas, especially in the sinuses. Have you ever felt that thick mucus that seems to get trapped, even if you drink hot water, have herbal teas, or try to clear your nose over and over again? According to the explanation mentioned in the video, the radish and daikon in particular can be one of the most useful foods when the body needs to expel that excess. The doctor even shares a personal experience. During a severe sinus infection, he took daikon juice, approximately 11 to 12 ounces, and drank it quickly with the intention of cleansing his body. The main idea is not to present daikon as a miracle, but as a traditional food with a natural strength that many people have used for years. The video mentions that it can be excellent for the liver, beneficial for the kidneys, useful for the gallbladder, and very interesting for the lymphatic system. It is also noted that it belongs to the cruciferous vegetable group, a family known for its potent plant compounds and its connection to a protective diet. And here a question arises that keeps curiosity alive. If such a simple root can provide freshness, help cut through that heavy feeling, and be part of healthier cooking, why have we left it so forgotten? Perhaps because we look for complicated solutions when many times our grandmothers already knew simple foods that worked on the everyday table. Therefore, before thinking only about the flavor of the pickle, it is worth looking at daikon with different eyes. It is not just something crunchy to accompany rice, meat, or a home-cooked meal. It is a light, juicy, and traditional root that, when prepared correctly, can become a little daily support to help you feel better without complicating your kitchen routine. Now that we understand why daikon deserves more attention, we come to a part that seems simple but completely changes the final result: how to cut it. In the original recipe, the radishes are cut into long, firm, and elegant strips. This is no minor detail. When daikon is left in elongated sections, it retains that crunchy texture much better, making every bite so satisfying. When you bite into it, it doesn't feel soft or dull, but fresh, crisp, and alive. Furthermore, this cut brings with it a very beautiful family memory. The mother always preferred cutting the radishes into long strips because they were more pleasant to eat and looked prettier inside the jar. The father, on the other hand, preferred them cut into small cubes. That simple difference ended up becoming a cheerful little argument in the kitchen. Doesn't the same thing happen in many families? Sometimes a recipe is remembered not only for its flavor, but for the voices, the laughter, and those little quirks that surrounded it. After cutting all the daikon comes a fundamental trick. A large bowl is prepared with cold water and plenty of ice cubes. Then the radish strips are placed inside and left to rest for 15 to 20 minutes. This step may seem unnecessary, but it is one of the secrets to achieving a truly special texture. The shock of cold helps firm up the radish's structure. The strips become firmer, tighter, and much crunchier. It is as if the daikon wakes up in the ice water. Each piece gains that clean, snapping sensation we look for when biting into a good pickle. But the ice water doesn't just improve the texture, it also helps mellow the natural flavor of the raw radish. Often, daikon can have a hint of bitterness, a strong aroma, or a somewhat spicy sensation that not everyone likes. By leaving it in cold water, some of that intensity is reduced, and the final result will be more balanced, cleaner, and much more pleasant. That is why you shouldn't skip this step if you are looking for a truly crunchy and well-made homemade pickle. After the ice water bath, the daikon is firmer, fresher, and ready for the next step. Now comes a stage that many people try to skip, but which actually decides whether the pickle will be crunchy or end up soft and watery. We need to salt the radishes. For this amount, approximately 1/3 of a cup of coarse sea salt is used. It's not just about sprinkling and waiting. You have to mix carefully, move the strips with your hands, and give them a gentle massage so that each piece is evenly coated. Why is this step so important? Because the radish, especially daikon, is full of water. That juiciness is wonderful when we eat it fresh, but it can become a problem inside the jar. If we don't extract some of that moisture before adding the vinegar, the water will seep out later and dilute the pickling liquid. Then the flavor will lose its strength, the acidity will be weaker, and the radishes won't be preserved with the same quality. Salt acts as a silent key. Little by little, it draws out the excess water from inside the daikon. At the same time, it helps the strips become more resilient, more compact, and much crunchier. Instead of becoming soft or limp, they maintain that firm bite we all expect from a good homemade pickle. In the original recipe, it is left to rest for quite a long time, even overnight if a more foolproof result is desired. But if you don't have that much time, you can also leave them for 2 to 4 hours. The important thing is to check the texture before continuing. Here comes a very simple trick from the narrator's mother. Take a radish strip and try to bend it in half. If it snaps immediately, it's not ready yet. But if it bends easily without breaking, it means the salt has done its job. That little gesture tells you more than any clock. After checking it, water is added to wash away the excess salt. We don't want the pickle to be too salty. Then they are left to drain and dry a bit. At that moment, the daikon is ready to receive the vinegar, sugar, and all the flavors that will turn it into a delicious preserve. When the radishes have released their excess water, have been washed to remove the leftover salt, and have been left to drain a bit, the most anticipated moment arrives. Preparing the liquid that will give them that sweet, tangy, intense, and deeply appetizing flavor. This is where the daikon stops being just a white root and begins to transform into a pickle full of life. In the original recipe, 1.5 cups of sugar is added directly to the bowl with the radish strips. Then 1 cup of 5% white vinegar is mixed in. This ratio is designed for approximately 5 pounds of radishes, and it creates a very pleasant balance between sweetness and acidity. The sugar mellows the harshness of the vinegar, while the vinegar awakens the flavor of the daikon and helps preserve it for a longer time. But the recipe doesn't stop there. To give it more depth, a few garlic cloves and some red chili peppers are added. The garlic provides a warm, familiar, and slightly spicy aroma. The chilies, for their part, add that lively touch that gives each bite more character. If you prefer, you can cut the garlic cloves into thin slices so they release their flavor better. but they can also be left whole, as in the original preparation. Now it's time to mix everything patiently. You have to toss the strips over and over until each piece is well coated with the sugar, vinegar, garlic, and chili. What are we looking for at this point? That no piece is left dry, that they all begin to absorb that glossy liquid, and that the aroma of the pickle starts to emerge even before closing the jar. Next, a sterilized glass jar is prepared. In the recipe, it is rinsed with boiling water and then left to air dry naturally. This detail is important because a clean jar helps preserve the radishes better and prevents off flavors. When the jar is ready, all the daikon strips are placed inside, packing them carefully but without bruising them. Finally, all the remaining liquid from the bowl is poured over the top. Every piece must be completely submerged. That detail makes all the difference, because if the radish is covered by the liquid, the flavor is distributed better and the preserve stays in good condition for a longer time. Once all the daikon strips are inside the jar and completely covered by the liquid, all that's left is to close the lid tightly and let time do its work. In the original recipe, the jar is left to sit at room temperature for 2 days. There is no need to move it around too much or complicate the process. It is simply left there, undisturbed, while the vinegar, sugar, garlic, and chilies slowly penetrate each piece of radish. After those 2 days, the radishes have already changed. The flavor becomes more well-rounded, deeper and more pleasant. The acidity is present, but it is not aggressive. The sweetness softens the overall flavor. The garlic leaves an aromatic background, and the chili adds a little spark. At that point, the jar is stored in the fridge to keep it fresh and preserve that flavor for longer. The best part is that you don't have to wait too long to try them. Even after 1 day, the flavor already starts to develop, and you can eat a small portion if you are curious. But when the full 2 days pass, the texture and flavor feel much more balanced. When you bite into them, you get that clean, firm, and satisfying crunch that proves all the previous steps were worth it. These pickled radishes can be kept in the fridge for up to a month. Whenever you crave something fresh, tangy, and crunchy, they will be ready to accompany your meal. They go very well with rice, meats, simple dishes, or even as a small side dish for lunch. In the original recipe, it is mentioned that they are even taken to work because they are practical, tasty, and easy to enjoy at any time. And now tell me, have you ever tried pickled radish this way? Would you cut it into long strips like in this recipe, or into small cubes like the narrator's father preferred? If you would also like to see recipes for pickled red radish or yellow radish, leave a comment. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.